Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are diving right into a kind of ancient intellectual detective story. We're going to unravel this series of really complex legal puzzles that honestly reveals something profound about how we think about rules, reverence, and, the very nature of the sacred.
And really, this is the question at the heart of our whole journey today. It seems simple, right? But the answer is incredibly complex. I mean, when you're dealing with rituals that are designed to connect the human and the divine, what happens when simple human error enters the picture? This isn't just about getting a rule wrong. It's about what that mistake means and, crucially, what you do next.
Okay, let's dive in by setting the scene. We're in the ancient temple in Jerusalem. Now here, every single action, especially anything involving the central altar, was governed by these incredibly, almost mind-bogglingly precise rules. And this wasn't just bureaucracy. The core idea was that sanctity requires precision. The stakes? They just couldn't be higher.
So a tiny procedural error, like doing something at the wrong time or in the wrong way, could make a sacred offering completely unfit. But, that's where our story really begins. The ancient rabbis didn't just stop at, well, that's the rule. No way. They debated these edge cases with an intense, almost microscopic logical rigor. And that's the incredible process we're going to explore.
So, let's get into our first legal puzzle. It revolves around a very specific procedural error. An animal is slaughtered for a sacrifice inside the temple, which is the right place, but at night, which is the wrong time. Then, that offering, which is now unfit, is taken and placed on an altar outside the temple. So the big question is the person who did all this legally liable?
Okay, so to solve this, a sage named Rabbi Yohanan comes up with this. Well, it's a brilliant logical comparison. On the left, you see a rule they already know for sure. If you slaughter an animal and offer it outside the temple, you're liable. Period. On the right is our new puzzle. Now, Rabbi Yohanan sees a parallel here. In both cases, an unfit offering ends up being sacrificed outside the temple. So he asks, shouldn't the outcome be exactly the same?
So here's his core argument, right? He basically says the law for our night slaughter case shouldn't be any less strict than the established outslaughter case. It's a really clean, elegant argument from analogy. Since both actions result in an unfit offering being put on an outside altar, the liability, he argues, has to be identical. It's just simple, powerful logic. But, and you knew there'd be a but, in the world of Talmudic debate, no argument ever goes unchallenged. Just as Rabbi Yohanan lays out this beautiful logical structure, a colleague, Rav Heya, comes along and introduces a classic plot twist, a powerful counterexample that threatens to bring the whole thing crashing down. And here is the big problem for Rabbi Yohanan's logic. Look at case 2 over there. There's this other, totally established rule for bird offerings. If a bird is improperly prepared inside the temple and then offered outside, the person is actually exempt from liability. Well, this just blows a hole right through his universal principle. If his logic were true that any unfit offering sacrificed outside makes you liable, then this bird case simply shouldn't exist.
And the verdict is swift and decisive. The Gemara, which is the official record of these rabbinic debates, it just declares this a conclusive refutation. Boom, done. Rabbi Yohanan's elegant argument is rejected. And this shows you something so crucial about this whole process. It's not about one person winning an argument. It's about stress testing every single principle against the entire body of law to see if it holds up. This is how the system gets refined.
Okay, so let's move on to a new but totally related question. This one is presented by another scholar named Ula. He asks, what happens if a disqualified item is already placed on the main altar inside the temple? Does the sheer sanctity of the altar itself kinda change the rules? Is there a point of no return?
So, Ula introduces this really powerful idea. He argues that once certain disqualified portions are on the altar, they become the bread of the altar. It's like they're mystically absorbed, in a sense. The altar's holiness is so intense, so powerful, that it actually overrides the prior mistake, and the offering cannot be removed.
And as you can probably guess by now, this new theory immediately goes under the microscope. The other rabbis just jump on it, starting this rigorous cross-examination, testing Ula's idea against all these existing laws and precedents to see if it's consistent and if it's sound. The debate here moves at lightning speed, so let's walk through the logic together. First up, a challenge from an existing law. From that law, an inference is drawn that actually seems to support Ula's theory. But wait a minute, immediately a counter-argument tries to limit the scope of that inference, saying, well, maybe that only applies to the most sacred offerings. And the response?
they dig right back into the text. It's this fascinating process of dissecting every single word to test an idea from every possible angle.
And the debate gets even more detailed. I mean, the rabbis consider every possibility to find the absolute boundaries of the rule. Like, what if the animal was alive? Okay, it comes down. What if it had a blemish? Depends on the blemish. What if it was technically fit for just a single moment before it became disqualified? Every single scenario gets explored to make sure the legal principle is absolutely watertight.
So all of this whole intense debate, it brings him to this final, and honestly, seemingly illogical puzzle. The law says that if a disqualified offering is on the altar, its innards have to be taken down and washed. But if the offering is disqualified, why bother? I mean, they can't be put back on the altar. Why go through this apparently useless step?
And the answer to this puzzle, well, this is where we move beyond pure legal technicality and get to the deep value system that underpins this entire structure. The why here reveals the soul of the law.
Here is the reason, and it is just so powerful. You perform the action out of respect. Even though this offering is technically invalid, even though it can't complete the ritual, it was still consecrated for a sacred purpose. It shouldn't just be treated with disrespect like a common carcass. You see, the procedure isn't just about rules. It's about maintaining the dignity and reverence owed to something that has touched the holy.
And that really brings us to our final thought for today. This ancient debate forces us to ask a timeless question, one we can all ask ourselves. At what point does following the letter of the law transform into an expression of the spirit behind it? This whole intricate discussion wasn't really just about unfit offerings. It was about defining reverence, dignity, and the profound character of the sacred.